Okay, let's go ahead and start off with some definitions. When we talk about population, we mean the entire collection of objects or people that we want to know something about. For example, if we want to determine the percent of men on the university campus, then the population is going to be all the people on the campus. If you want to determine the percentage of men in the United States, the population then would be all the people in the United States. For that college example, the university probably has the exact list of students on this campus. So yes, we can go ahead and figure out the population exactly. On the other hand, if you want to look at the entire United States, there is not a list of all the people. And what about a tourist? People being born, people dying, people leaving, people coming in. Who exactly makes up that population? So on the cases where we can't get the entire list, the entire population, we look at samples, which is a subset of the population. But first we need to find where the samples are coming from. The sampling frame is the list of individuals from which the sample is drawn. So we have the population, and we have the sampling frame, which hopefully includes the entire population, but doesn't necessarily do so. We sample from the sampling frame, and that allows us to make conclusions about the population. For example, to draw random sample students at a college, we might obtain a list of all the registered full-time students and sample from that list. Now, in defining the sample frame, we must deal with the details of defining that population. Are part-time students included? How about those who are attending school elsewhere and transferring credits back? Alright, so in summary, the population is a complete collection of individuals or objects you want to learn about. When it comes to studying larger populations, we need a sample. Now, the idea of sampling is to take a portion of that population, study that portion, and then use it to make conclusions about the entire population. The sampling frame is the collection of individual or objects we actually sample from. Ideally, the sampling frame is the population, but not necessarily. All right, a couple other definitions. A parameter is a value, usually it's a proportion or it'll be an average, for us anyway. Proportions for categorical variables, averages for numerical variables. And the parameter is that value that describes the population. For every parameter, there is a corresponding sample statistic. The statistic, or we also call it a point estimate, is a numerical value summarizing the sample data and describing the sample the same way the parameter describes the population. So think about sampling something you're cooking. You taste a small part of what you're cooking to get an idea about the dish. The population is going to be all versions of the recipe you're using. The sampling frame is the dish itself. The sample would be that small part you tasted. And the parameter, I guess, would be how the dish should taste. The statistic is how your cooking actually tasted. Okay. All right, for these upcoming examples, let's go ahead and look at the population, sampling frame, sample, population parameters, and statistics. All right, so researchers waited outside a bar they had randomly selected from a list of such establishments. They stopped every 10th person who came out of the bar and asked whether he or she thought drinking and driving was a serious problem. So the population is going to be all adults here. The sampling frame would be those who are at that bar, the bar patrons. And the sample was every 10th person leaving the bar. In this case, we're interested in whether or not they thought drinking and driving was a serious problem. So we'd be looking at what proportion of them said it was. And it's not given here, but the statistics would be from our sample what the actual value, what the actual proportion is for that sample. It's not given in this example here. All right, second example. A company packaging snack foods maintains quality control by randomly selecting 10 cases from each day's production and weighing the bags. Then they open one bag from each case and inspect the contents. So the population is going to be all those snack food bags. But we can't look at every single one. So the sampling frame would be those they produced that day. And the sample would be the 10 randomly selected cases, one bag from each case. The parameter is going to be the average. We're going to be weighing them, so that's going to be a numerical variable. So the parameter is going to be the average weight of the bags and the proportion passing inspection. And again, no statistics are given here. No sample values are given here. Okay, one more. Consumer Union asked all subscribers whether they had used alternative medical treatments, and if so, whether they had benefited from them. For almost all the treatments, approximately 20% of those responding reported cures of substantial improvements in their condition. So the population would be adults. Specifically, we're the sampling frame, we're looking at all Consumer Union subscribers. And the sample would be those who responded. So not everyone responded, those who did. The parameter we're looking for is the proportion those who have used or benefited from using alternative medicine. In this case, we have a statistic. From our sample, we found that approximately 20% of those responding reported cures or substantial improvements in their condition.